you let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Flying in from outer space for this evening. It's good to have you here. Good to have you. Wherever you're watching right now, could be on YouTube, it can be on Twitter, it could be on Rumble or D Live. Badlands. It is a Badlands night tonight. It's a Thursday, the 2nd day of October 2025. And we got a great one. We really got a great one coming up. It's I gotta say, it's gonna be a fun night, and we're gonna be able to talk to someone I've wanted on this show for a while now, and through a couple of very fortuitous events, it was able to happen. And on the night before I take off and retreat into the Adirondacks for a weekend. So that's we'll talk about that in a little bit. We got Nerdrotic on with us tonight, and all of the trappings of a good time. I also want to thank Michael Collins. I want to thank Michael Collins, the Wandering Wolf himself, for helping not only get this booking tonight, because he put on a wonderful, he's putting on a really nice, let me get this up right here, an event I wish I was going to, I swear to God, and I know I'm going to be able to go to these things a little bit more. It's part of what I want to start getting additional levels of funding into this show for, not only so that I can go out and do the show on the road and be places and interview people, but also to bring people into the studio a little bit more. And this is Quest for Ancient Civilizations from December 5th through 7th in Scottsdale, Arizona. Michael Collins is going to be joining us on the show, I think on the 15th. But, among this star-studded list of people who are going to just be talking about, I would have to imagine, some of their greatest, deepest interest, and that is about the ancient world, the biggest questions you have for the ancient world, the quest for the truth, because, of course, that is the quest for our backstory, and everybody likes a good backstory. But among all those people is Gary Buechler, Nerdrotic, who's going to be on with us tonight. I can't wait to talk to him about his interest in this category in particular, because there's a lot to be said about it. And yeah, here's something else that we're going to be doing in the second half of the show that I just want to plant a seed for you, as we have a couple of minutes before Gary shows up. In the second half, aside from just getting your thoughts about whatever we are discussing tonight, because it's going to have a little bit of culture war, it's going to have a little bit of the ancient world, it's all the same thing. I mean, that's ancient culture. That is, our Genesis story. We want to know about that stuff and how many times there really has been great resets on the planet. And if it was a reset that was triggered by something other than some kind of a catastrophic natural occurrence, or perhaps an elite group of people, or aliens, Anunnaki, just like the Anunnaki who are going to be landing on the front lawn of the White House this November. The Atlas Anunnaki. That's all Anunnaki, if you didn't know. They're coming for the gold. They're coming from the gold, and they're coming for the quartz. But I want to talk about the games we play. All right? Going to give you a little something to think about. When I say the games we play, I'm talking about the little games that you make up for yourself along the way. Weird things, maybe to pass the time, or maybe just because we're wired that way. Have you ever driven? You're driving in your car, you're going down a two-way street, and you see an oncoming car, and you say to yourself, I have got to get the entire length of my car past this telephone pole before the nose of that car touches the telephone pole, or else blah. And then you create a ridiculous circumstance that can be anything from petty and stupid to the entire world. Your life may even depend on it. Why do we raise the stakes in these stupid games? I have more games that I have made that I'll tell you about, including the toilet bowl game. Don't worry, it's not gross. It's you'll know about it tonight. And I know that some of you guys have games. I know that you've made up games with crazy circumstances for winning them, and I don't know why we do it, but I want to talk about the games we play a little bit in the second half of the show. We got to do a little bit of chilling, and that's where we go from there. Okay, what else do we have over here? So the games we play, that's all out of the way over there, and then on this side of heaven, I also had one other thing that's going to go hand in hand with our topic tonight on the culture war end. And it's going to kind of bring in a little bit of the AI topics from last night and where the human feel is going to, with a little bit of our anti-Hollywood slant on everything. I think you'll like that. So there's more of that coming into the fold. And then one other thing I will just put out there at the end of the month, as you all know, as I told you last night, Molly from Keto Brainz is giving away 2 year-long subscriptions, one each, to the Keto Brainz, the non-dairy coffee creamer that just blows your mind up and gives you the greatest boost in the middle of the day, the beginning of the day, whatever hell it is. It's not that gas station stuff, I'll tell you that much. Use promo code TREAT all month, and we're talking about $600 plus worth of winnings that somebody's going to get on one end, and then the peptides on the other. But we're just waiting for our guest now, and then we'll get into a number of things that is getting me all hyped up, including the game tonight. I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, some of you were able to really lend me an ear last night when we went into extra innings. And I think that Gary he might have a side eye on a television somewhere else. I think that he's a Padres fan, and the Padres are going into the top of the 7th right now, and they're down 2-0 to the Cubbies. So there's all, everything's happening. Things are happening all around us. Some of it is distracting. Some will tear your heart out for no reason. You want to talk about the games we play, the games that we allow to be played with us. But there's that. Sal has gotten in touch with me. Sal said that Sal's coming up to the house in the woods this weekend too. He asked how much steak he should bring. So it looks like I'm going to be doing a little bit of a photo shoot for you guys, and I will be posting out on Instagram and a lot more stuff on Patreon, Subscribestar, and the members only. So I'm going to be waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you all to join in the woods for a good old steak of a good time. We have 2 calls here that I want to come up with. The first one is from Problematic Todd, and then we have another one that showed up that I think is really going to cause a problem on the show. Take a listen to this.
Hey, Frank, Problematic Todd here. You mentioned on your show tonight that it's been 1 month since the Jamboree. Hard to believe. And ironically, it came off an email from the other couple from Oregon, the other long-distance domestic travelers. And it inspired a song. I'm going to go a cappella for just a second here. It's been 1 month since the Jamboree. Hey, Frank, do you miss me?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Todd. I wish you were still camping out here in the studio. Anyway, I got another voicemail from Problematic Will in Texas, I believe, who's not very happy with this Problematic Todd guy that's been calling in and taking his problematic name. Take a listen to this. I think it's a little bit lower on the volume, so you have to squint with your ears.
Yo, this is problematic, Will, because the truth is problematic to a culture that esteems a false narrative. I hate the show. It has come to my attention that some nigga named Todd is going around using unsanctioned prefixes. Now, this is unacceptable. And this is my formal notice to cease and desist. Now, I've been calling the show for a while, and everybody knows who the originator is. Instagram, Facebook, streaming on all sources as Problematic Will for years. And now this guy pulls this? Come on, man. The only way some nigga named Todd would be allowed to retain the problematic certification was to become a member of the Fellowship of Truth. And it is a vigorous process, and it is only available to Franciscans. That's very important. Now, if you're interested in this, some nigga named Todd, send your $138 application fee to Cash App, $Billy B. Moore for consideration. Thank you for your immediate attention to this matter.
Wow. That was very official. Cease and desist. Wow. So Todd has something, and the other thing I realize is too, and hey, it's not my doing, but without Matt really being a regular part in this show, there is a power vacuum among the Franciscans, and there is going to be some problems here. It is I wouldn't call it a Cold War even yet, but there's just something, there's headbutting that is going on, and I just don't know where it's all going to lead. So that's another thing that's on my mind right now. I just wanted to bring that up. Todd and Will, there's an issue. There's an issue there. Shotzi in the chat room says, enjoy the long weekend, Frank. Decompress and have fun with the family. We will. But we won't be very far. We'll be doing the coffee streams here on YouTube and maybe on Instagram and elsewhere throughout the weekend. That'll be all in the morning. And I can't wait to rope you guys in for some fun and some good scenes, good sights and sounds. A lot of silence. Callie Sunshine is out there. Says, Frank, long-time listener, first-time super chatter. Thank you for putting on a great show every night. Your hard work and dedication to the show does not go unnoticed. Shout out to Leasebreaker and all of the Franklies. Leasebreaker. I know Leasebreaker. Damn. So there's a lot of good feelings out there tonight. Lot of good feelings indeed. Now, when we talk about the culture war, and this is our next guest who is just about a minute away from showing up. When we talk about the culture war, you have to talk about a lot of different things that you could not have planned for about 150 years ago, or maybe some people could have. But take a look at this. AI-generated actress Tilly Norwood sparks Hollywood backlash. Okay? You read that right. Some of Hollywood's biggest stars and the union that represents them are speaking out against the creation of an AI-generated actress following reports that she will soon be signed by a talent agency. How is that even possible? Or what are the stipulations for such a signing, I should ask? The AI-generated actress named Tilly Norwood is the creation of Eileen van der Velden, the founder of Particle 6, a United Kingdom-based AI production studio. Van der Velden recently created buzz about Norwood when she claimed in September 27th panel at the Zurich Summit that the company was in talks to sign its AI creation with a talent agency to represent her for acting roles. The statement prompted backlash in Hollywood, including from actress Emily Blunt, who described the prospect as terrifying. That is really, really scary. Come on. Agencies don't do that. Please stop. Please stop taking away our human connection, Blunt told Variety on Monday. Marvel star Simu Liu? I have not watched Marvel in a long time, my friends. Our guest has. Look to Instagram to comment saying sarcastically, movies are great, but you know what would be better if the characters in them weren't played by actual humans, but by AI replicas approximating human emotion. Well, I mean, it's happening everywhere. It's happening in a lot of places. That's the whole thing here. I was talking about this last night. It goes hand in hand with what we're going to talk about tonight with Gary, and how everything else pulls into the frame as well. You know, human connection. It's relevant to everything. Human connection to books, to traditional forms of research, to music making, to editing, to creative writing, sports. We've been talking about it a lot lately, but especially with my friends, because it just news was just made that the major leagues are going to start using essentially AI sensors, robot umpires to check balls and strikes. And you say, to what end is this going to be good? To what, and wherever you go, athletics, professions across the board, creative outlets. It's just, let's be honest here. Hollywood is going to make a fortune though off of AI movies. That's that they're going to. I don't know where it's all going to be or when it's going to be revealed, because this is a very new thing as far as what generations of actors are going to be able to sell their image and likeness to production houses to continue to create movies and roles for them that their estate. And you talk about a way to create generational wealth for people who already have enough or a lot. That's one way of doing it. One way of doing it, indeed. So I'm waiting for it. Whoopi Goldberg, an Oscar-winning actress and co-host of ABC's The View, said she believes AI-generated actors have an unfair advantage over human actors. Yeah? In what way? You're suddenly up against something that has been generated with 5,000 other actors. So it's a little bit of an unfair advantage. I guess it is. You're essentially a composite. If that's what she's saying, you become a composite of so many other actors and actresses. So there is a lot to compete with on that end. But how far does it go? I don't know. Now I'm going to go take just a really quick break because I just want to see where our guest is. I had spoken to Gary just before we went live, and so I know that we are in proximity, but I just need to go and check on that. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a moment, and we will be back in a second. All right, everybody, we are back, and we've got the man of the hour is now here. Let me just get into this a little bit here. Just in case you don't know who Gary Buechler is, we're going to do it right now. Gary Buechler, a.k.a. Nerdrotic, hosts of pop culture live streams like Friday Night Tights and Forbidden Frontier. Now, that's what I've been watching a little bit more of lately, ever since my good friend Michael Collins told me all about it. Where he and panels of guests are diving into everything from culture wars to comedy to theories on our surrounding ancient civilizations and what it could tell us about where we are today and what we don't know about them. He's a former comic book shop owner. He's a Star Wars aficionado, probably even better than I am, who once partied with Motley Crue. That's about all I know about him right now, other than he's probably checking the Padres score. What's going on? Gary, welcome to the show.
How's it going?
Hey, it's going.
Thanks for having me. I didn't, you know what? I thought it would automatically bounce me back in. I'm like, oh, damn, I have to go in myself. Right. Sorry.
No, it's totally fine.
Sorry. I was like watching it all the time. I saw it's 2-0.
Yeah.
Cubs right now. So not super happy.
It's all right,
to be honest with you. But hey, I'm a Padre fan. I'm used to losing.
Well, you know what?
To losing.
For the last 30 years or so, it hasn't really been. The Yankees make it to the playoffs, but it doesn't mean we do much. But anyway.
Oh, don't cry to me. The Yankee, don't cry.
We don't do much.
Don't cry. You've taken all the championships. I watched that 98 Padres Yankees World Series. I was there for all the San Diego games.
Oh man.
That was brutal. The umps really liked your team and didn't like ours.
Oh, that's what it was?
Yeah, that's what it was.
I was in 8th grade for that year, 1998, 8th grade. There was so much going on, and I remember those are 3 years in a row where it was just like, oh, the Yankees are in the World Series. Well, this will be easy, and it's one thing after. I don't know. That was the Padres just got walked all over. I'm sorry about that, but then again, I was 13 and I had nothing to do with it. So, welcome to the show. You and I have been on the same page for a long time with the path that our culture is on. You've actually helped me let go of the last ribbons of hope I had for Disney's Star Wars. That's number one. I was done after Kenobi, especially, but I didn't really start watching Forbidden Frontier until, like I said before, Michael Collins told me about it. Where did your fascination for these aspects of history and these parts of our story as a human species really start budding for you?
Wow, it goes way back. I was into a show called In Search Of way back in the 70s when Leonard Nimoy was basically the narrator of it, and that kind of was my gateway. Those stories like creeped me out, and there was something about them that I found enticing, and there was also the truth factor, and a lot of it was crazy, including they're the ones who predicted there'd be an ice age by now. But that was my gateway drug. And really early on, I started reading Zecharia Sitchin. I remember Charles Berlitz's The Bermuda Triangle. And I kept reading those books, and as much like those were like the nonfiction I was reading. And I've read as many of those books as epic fantasy. And it's just the mystery of it all is basically that, it's been a part of my life for so long. I can't say there was like one thing, but it's just, getting into the high mysteries, the high strangeness. And I think it was always just a desire, like, there's got to be more to the world. I want the world to be kind of weird. And we're finding out over time that it went from a hobby to like, oh, wow, I believe like a lot of this stuff now. Because, I was into it, but then I can't say I believed all of it. I was also a huge fan of Art Bell.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to Art every night. That was pretty much the 90s and the early 2000s for me. God, I miss that man.
Well, the first time I listened to a full episode of either Coast to Coast or Midnight in the Desert or anything in between, Dark Matter, and it was not until my daughter was born in late 2020. I knew about the best ofs, and I knew he was out. I understood the importance and the gravity and especially the influence of talk radio in a terrestrial sense back then. But it wasn't until those late nights feeding bottles to my daughter in various stages of lockdown that I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to the first episode. And I have listened to God knows how many hundreds of hours since then. And I'm with you. And all things Fortean in that kind of a sense. I love getting into ancient paranormal and parapolitical topics there. You brought up the Bermuda Triangle. Where did that go? Did that thing shift? Is that a result of some kind of an energy meridian ley line shifting kerfluffage? What is it? We used to hear about it all the time, and now it's just a story we used to tell each other.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was just a lot of planes and ships go down there, or we haven't gotten anything recent from it, and I don't know, because it was something I certainly believed in. There's enough weird stuff that happened, especially Flight 19, right? And a couple of times they thought they had found Flight 19, but they haven't, and that one is truly weird. But no, we haven't gotten anything from it, and people have kind of moved on from it, which is kind of a bummer. But there's other Bermuda Triangles, so maybe they did shift. There's other places in the world where this stuff is still happening, and it seems like they're reporting on it a little bit more.
Yeah, especially in the national forests. That's where I think a lot of them are. Then that really just brings me to that other thought, is that people of all stripe really find this stuff interesting, but it makes sense that guys like you and myself to a large degree as well would be drawn into it, because among other things, people know the value of a good story, a good mystery, and you especially, the importance of a character's backstory, establishing that well. And there's nothing more important than the backstory of our own species. And I guess that's where ancient civilizations and all the question marks about all of these very intriguing ancient sites that are seemingly being, neglected or disrupted in some kind of a way, in unthinkable ways. That's really where we are today. And I guess that's how you are now involved in some of these talks, like what Michael Collins is hosting in Arizona.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that Quest for Ancient Civilizations. And what Michael's been doing is crazy, and he has been pointing out like how much of it is just fake, which we kind of expected, but and they're doing it for tourist dollars. But there's also the aspect of it, of all the paranormal things. Ancient Civilizations is the one where there's the most data, the most credible data to kind of back this up. Certainly there's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but like if you want to go over like the general thesis, is there was an ancient advanced civilization before the Ice Age, during the Ice Age, and we were far more connected, far more advanced than academia is saying. And I am convinced. I know it takes a lot more, but I am convinced when you see so many just impossible things, like for one, okay, maybe humanity collectively just decided to start building pyramids, and they're all like, they're all triangle structures and they all look the same. Okay, you could take that, but then you get into like little details, the polygonal stones, the little key cuts, what they have, where they in these big megalithic stones, there's these little they cut things out to put, basically it was iron to hold the stones together, and those are in Egypt, they're in Greece, they're in South America, and they all look pretty similar. I was so stoked. I was with Michael when I saw one for the first time. I'm like, holy shit!
You guys went to Peru together, right?
Yeah, we did. And I mean, so many other bizarre similarities, like a lot of the statues where they have like the men, I put it in air quotes, with their arms at their side and right around their belt buckle or their junk. And you have that in Southeast Asia. You have that at Göbekli Tepe. You have that at Easter Island. And it's impossible that people came up with that independently. Absolutely impossible. So I think it's fascinating, for one. I think with Göbekli Tepe and what we're finding out with Karahan Tepe and so many other locations, that there is something real to this. And then there's academia trying to block it, like actively trying to block it. And we can go down the rabbit hole on what the theories are. I think most of it's ego and hubris, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. I'd love for there to be a grand, and there might be, but if you think about the grand conspiracy of why would they cover up like the existence of giants or the existence of an ancient civilization, and their excuse will be, well, it would destabilize things. It would destabilize religions. And actually would back up some religions. So that doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is the human ego. and the human condition and academia pushing a narrative that a lot of people have put their time and money in and basically have their whole self-worth wrapped in, they're not going to abandon that. So I think that's a huge part of it. And then, there's other factors. You have to deal with each country and each country's patriotism or, national pride. And then, I just don't think the religious factor that they want to blame it on. I think it is a religious factor, as a matter of fact. I think it's the academic religion.
Yeah.
That's the one that is fundamentalist and refusing to even like research this stuff. We're not saying it's the truth, but let's find out together. And they just seem so resistant to it.
Well, academic pedigree, it's a very sacred thing to them. Those are their priestly robes. And and what the hell is all that time put in if they weren't right? If it's just somebody sleuthing about on the internet can put together a theory that actually holds more water than what's being put out. Now, because you'd said a couple of things I'd love to follow up on there, but when you're in your time in Peru, and I forget if this is the place that Michael came on this show once before and showed me all of the media that he had put together of certain aspects of the ruins out there that are clearly being built back up with plaster and everything else, and essentially tampered with in order to create more of an aesthetic presentation for tourism. Were you in similar areas like that to see his reporting in the past on stuff like that?
I've seen his reporting, and a lot of that is happening in Mexico. And he was also talking about some of the damage being done. The way they're putting back Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is not exactly right either. It's not as bad. But where we saw it, where we were, there was a little bit of that, but not as much. And, but what Michael's been doing is great. He needs to point this out because we need to kind of thread this needle of, we want tourists to go to these places because that means more research will continue to be done, but then you don't want to decimate it and just make it a Disneyland where no research will be done. And it's this fight that I don't have an answer for right now. But like I said, in Mexico, it's okay. This is a good example. When they dug up Göbekli Tepe, right? A lot of it looked like this. It did. But they put up the T-pillars, and I think there is some, Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm mixing anything up. They're using like cement in certain areas to keep things up. They're also using this to get erroneous dates. And for one, you see the T-pillars, right?
Yeah.
So surrounding us, and I haven't been here. Okay. Just so you know, surrounding it is all the other stones kind of holding up. So those came later. Those T-pillars didn't have those walls around them. So those walls were built up. And what you're finding in those walls is like statues. And archaeologists are saying, well, they just made a statue to make it part of the wall. And that's utterly ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And they're trying to keep they're really trying to keep the place younger. They are fighting the Klaus Schmidt dating like left and right. So if you don't know, Göbekli Tepe, and Karahan Tepe is now older, is the oldest megalithic structure we've ever found. It predates Sumeria, Stonehenge by thousands of years, and it's like finding a motorcycle in Tutankhamun's tomb. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
it came, and this isn't. It's very sophisticated. It's carving in relief, and what we're being told is they just did that overnight. This is the first place it's ever been done. Oh, by the way, this predates agriculture, but then they started agriculture. So these really genius people who walked around in loincloths and no shoes said, you know what? I'm going to invent carving in relief. I'm going to invent agriculture and astronomy. We're going to invent that too. And they're still fighting over like,
and we're gonna make science. These lasting structures when we are otherwise have to go and follow herds and be nomadic. That's
hunt for our food
right
all the time.
Like
we have all this surplus because that's right. when you have a civilization, and this is a civilization, they won't call it that, but there's so many sites, and they're all temples, by the way. Everything's a fucking temple, which I don't believe. But this is a civilization, and what much smarter people than me have taught me, because I'm just regurgitating what I heard from them, is it requires surplus. It requires you have to have saved food, resources, and then you have to have skilled labor. And to have that skilled labor, you have to have the surplus for a long time so it can become skilled labor. Mm-hmm. And they're really trying to push, like, they just woke up one morning and went, I'm going to carve some T-pillars. Let's go. To
a great degree, that's why years ago, people like Graham Hancock made me think completely differently about the pyramids. I mean, I grew up learning that the pyramids was built by slave labor and through pulley systems and all that stuff. And then when there's a very famous 4-minute video of Graham Hancock just talking about all the mathematical improbabilities about the precision and the artistic endeavor that the pyramid was, that it was not. It's impossible for any of this stuff to be the work of coercion, but more so the work of craftsmen at the peak of their abilities. And I said, where the hell else can you go with that? And, you're talking about essentially what is the OG culture war story, because at the center of every culture war is the war for history itself and the war for the rights to tell the story of history. Who's going to be reporting on it? And, we're force-fed bad history all the time, negativist, revisionism nonsense all the time. We're gaslit about things that happened just last spring. So it goes without saying that controlling what people know about the ancient world could probably it's very easily managed by a small group of academics. But I'm always interested in discussing what the motivation for something like that on that kind of a scale would be. And you think it really just comes down to hubris?
Yes, I think because they want to control the information, and admitting they're wrong in their eyes, by the way. I don't agree with this, but in their eyes, and this is just a theory because a lot of it just doesn't make sense why they fight this so hard, is admitting they were wrong would erode their authority, and then people might actually start looking to other places, which they're doing already, and they wouldn't be able to control the narrative. And at this point, and we've seen enough evidence where they hide that, like, if they see something that disrupts their narrative, they just pretend it doesn't exist. They just don't bring it up again instead of looking it up. And that is, and that's disrupting, that is creating a narrative. It is whatever you do, even if it's a little thing, but you're like, wow, this throws our dating off by 5,000 years. Let's just forget about it. Then everything you do after that's a lie.
Yeah.
Everything you do after that's a lie. And now you're just protecting your ass and the narrative. And to what it's just hard to comprehend, like, why they would keep this from us, right? They are definitely keeping information from us, but it doesn't seem, it's not financial at all, because these mofos are broke all the time. The only thing I can think of, and I'd love to be proven wrong, is they are just protecting their careers and their jobs and each other. Because I think archaeology should always be a house of cards. That's what I think. I think it should always be radically changed, because it's not a real science. It likes to think it's a real science, but it's about as much of a science as being an art history major. It's interpretation, and it's very subjective interpretation, unless you can date a seed or something like that. But there's still, you can't date stone yet. They're getting close to doing it, but you can't date stone yet. And it's clear some of this stuff is way older than they say it is. But motivation, man, I'm open to ideas. I'm definitely open to ideas.
I saw a comment on one of your videos recently, and I grabbed it because I knew that we were going to be speaking at some point in the future. I grabbed this one comment, and this one person said, I look at NASA news like I look at Egyptologists. They keep stuff to themselves and feed out just enough info to keep their future profitable. But again, to this point, where I see a point, and then I also kind of step back and I I have to ask bigger question is that, this is a lot of people's position, and it's been mine in the past too. But I have a hard time limiting this to profitability. Take Gobekli Tepe, for example, and by all means, give me, you already gave me your general thoughts, but continue to, if I touch on something, let me hear it.
Sure.
But
sure.
The work that Michael and Jimmy did alone, because I know that they went out there together. When they came back, Michael showed me all the stuff. They showed me all of the scaffolding around the actual the area there, and how these support beams are going right through what you would have to imagine is either like right next to critical infrastructure of this ancient site or whatever. So it just seems like the entire damn thing, they threw their hands up in the air and said, this is all we're going to get out of this. Let's just bring in the tourists. But the thing is, comes back to the question. If profit is the motivation, then why intentionally hinder research that could add untold magnitudes of importance and profitability to the site? Especially since, they have always had control. If the academics always had first dibs on the site like this, why just settle for so little when you can have so much more and be the ones that are in the history books? It makes me question all of even the hubris angle. It makes me think that that settling for this limited number of tourism is actually safer than revealing some gigantic truth. And they don't care about destroying world religions, so it can't be that.
No.
So
they the only religion they want to preserve is their own. Yeah, everything about it is off, right? Absolutely everything about this is off. So if you want to really go there, maybe they found something so earth-shattering, so frightening, that they want it, or something they can use and market someday. So like, say they found a fucking a flying saucer, a ship,
the transformer
ship. They found a transformer. They found they found the Battlestar Galactica. I don't know. They would definitely keep that to themselves and stop digging. But you're right. Like, you keep digging, that keeps that means more information is flowing from your site, which keeps interest alive, which keeps people like Michael and Jimmy and Graham going over there and talking about it and basically being a tourist ad in their books and their talks. And you would make so much more money, a lot more money. So you're the only thing I could, Ben from Uncharted X did a jaw-dropping talk. By the way, this is Quest for Ancient Civilizations. December 5th through 7th. AJ's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Jimmy's going to be there. Hugh Newman, David Hatcher Childress, fucking legend right there.
Michael Button, he was just on Rogan recently. He's great.
Michael Button's great. Don't know about that clown Michael Collins down there, but yeah, it's
a troublemaker.
But no, so Ben from Uncharted X did a speech, did a great talk at Cosmic Summit. I highly recommend everybody go see it if you haven't. It's basically it was the talk he gave before or you can watch the Joe Rogan episode where he talks about the Egyptian labyrinth and this giant 40-foot metal structure they have, which is basically the same shape as the Tic Tac. Which it was just jaw-dropping. Maybe something like that is there. I that might explain it, because everything else about stopping the dig at Gobekli Tepe, how much basically cock blocking we get from academia, that would be the only explanation, because it's baffling, like how little they will work with people.
It is. I don't know. I mean, this is another reason why it's so exciting. Once you find a little bit of a point of resistance to something that has no explanation, you start thinking that, hey, you know what? I've been a fan of all of these lost history kind of movies and stories for so long, finding things that were once lost. That's why I've always loved Indiana Jones. Tomb Raider to some people, anything UFO related. Hell, even the Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Any time that you feel, I love that feeling of you're on the brink of just getting your eyes and your hands on something that has been lost forever for one reason or another. National Treasure. Those like that. Those kind of movies, they always get me. Actually, you know what? What would you say your favorite hidden history or disclosure movie in those categories? Your favorite movie in the hidden history or disclosure categories?
Ooh. Well, it'd have to be like Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite movie of all time. I think it's the greatest movie ever made. So aside from that, it'd probably be The Mummy, the first Mummy with Brendan Fraser. That was the thing that felt kind of the most like a Indiana Jones, like not even close, but close enough to an Indiana Jones film. And I love National Treasure, seen it multiple times. And yeah, those are my jam. I freaking because it echoes back to the pulp era, one of my favorite eras of storytelling. You know, an era that we've completely lost, and hopefully there's a resurgence someday. You know, that's when men were men and women were women, and yeah, we had The Shadow and and The Phantom. H.P. Lovecraft was from that era. Robert E. Howard. It was still an era of where it felt like there's some mystery in the world. And the thing is, with the resurgence of ancient civilizations, thanks to, you know what you can pinpoint it to, this resurgence is the first time Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson were on together at Joe Rogan. That podcast got so many people talking, and it turned into, they got sequels and debates, and all of a sudden books were written. Graham was already writing books. Graham has been doing this for years. But then we got Graham's show on Netflix, and that blew it up some more, and it freaked out academia. So there's definitely still interest in this. I wish they would make more movies on it that were good, but
no, I have so many screenplay ideas, but we can say that for another time. You know, that's a huge one. Very, very big one. I actually have an ancient human screenplay idea that is all where I felt like where Jurassic Park could go, to actually a Jurassic Park like story that could actually hold people's attention and not turn into this nonsense where a woman in high heels can outrun a T-Rex for 15 seconds and it makes no sense. But you know, Graham Hancock, those interviews really did jumpstart a lot. They really did. And then I know a lot of people just go on a mass consumption spree. Like we brought up Art Bell before, and before I started going deep into all the stuff that's out there archived from the 90s, I started with some of the last stuff that he was doing. And when he in the last iteration of his show was Midnight in the Desert, the first show back was with Graham Hancock.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and I remember listening to that. I wasn't sleeping in my bed yet after my daughter was born. The only way she can fall asleep was to sleep next to my wife in my bed. I said, you know what? As long as she sleeps, I'm going to be on the couch. So I just remember those 2 months on that lumpy couch in the living room in, the fall of 2020, just listening to those episodes until I went to sleep. And it's just your mind just wanders. And that's the best part about all this.
Oh, it was highly entertaining, for one. The X-Files is basically Art Bell, the series. X-Files, one of the greatest shows ever. I remember that show. He came back. I was so excited. It was circled on my calendar. I was looking forward to it when I got back at work. I believe it was 2015. It was 2013 or 15.
15.
And
we were here.
15.
Yeah.
And he didn't come back for long. He had somebody, at least the story was, somebody like ran up to his house and threatened him, and that was it. He was done. And then 3 years later, he was dead.
Yeah.
Which was very sad. And we found out he had some demons, which I've had to deal with too. But yeah, I miss Art. And as you said, I have the entire library, by the way. Wow. I have it saved, and I go back and listen to it. And if you want story ideas, if you're a writer, all your story ideas are there. Absolutely everything. The lore is amazing. A channel that really does the best job of kind of continuing Art's legacy is the Y-Files.
Oh, yes.
The Y-Files. Yeah. I mean, almost every show, not every show, but almost every show Art has done an episode on. And AJ knows his Art Bell, by the way. So, and he's a great dude. Go check out that channel.
I love AJ's work. I love to meet him one day and get him on the show. No doubt about it. I mean, it's been an honor to talk to you so far. And I got to say,
cheers.
Well, cheers. I have uncaptured institutions because we're talking about the culture, and as we go on to the later parts of this show here tonight. Hollywood is in the same boat as history and modern archaeology right now, because we're talking about telling and preserving stories that essentially define us. I mean, that's been before there was any kind of mass communication tools. We were keeping our cultures alive. We were keeping our families together, our communities growing by just the oral tradition. And now what we find is that some of the biggest squawk boxes in history, between the news and between what the studios produce, they're telling stories that are really messed up to make sure that they mess us up, and we throw off the scent for whatever kind of greater truths are out there that really have something to do with our birthright. So, I mean, we have a few friends that work in Hollywood. One of them, my friend Carlos, he calls in from time to time. He called in about a year ago to talk about how desperately studios wanted to change direction, no matter how liberal they were or anything like that. They kind of knew where the wind was blowing, and whether it was just about survival or whether they were having a change of heart with what they had put all their time and energy into, that they felt that they were just being held hostage by something. Why do you think this is so hard for people to break free? And are they being held hostage by the same things that are keeping big archaeology in line?
Yes. The short answer is yes. The thing where it's kind of the easiest to cross over from, paranormal ancient civilizations to pop culture is, in both cases, we're trying to break narratives, or at the very least question them. And we're finding out that most of these narratives are complete fiction about our history. And that's pretty much what we're finding out from Hollywood. And we're going to encompass that with anything that provides information, be it scripted entertainment or a comic book or your news or social media. We are being sold a narrative, a story. There's some kernels of truth in it, but most of it isn't true. And more people than ever are waking up to that. Hollywood's biggest problem is my good friend Robert Meyer Burnett came up with the phrase about 3 or 4 years ago. It's kind of inverting another phrase, but it's authenticity is the currency of the future. And he's 100% right on that one. And that's why more people are either becoming streamers or watching streams or watching YouTube, because we're just watching each other. And yeah, there's way more bullshit out there, but at least it's bullshit that we can sift through and decide what's true on our own. And we're getting it from a real human being. And through that, there's more understanding. What we've been fed by the networks, who are supposed to be competitive, but they, like, my entire life, could you tell the difference between ABC News, CBS News, and NBC News? No, they're the same fucking thing. And they usually they were just regurgitating what they got from AP or Reuters. So Reuters, sorry. That was their official version of events. So what the problem Hollywood is having is they really bought in, and we could go down a rabbit hole on why, but they really bought in that the culture was shifting a certain way during Obama's presidency. That had a lot to do with a lot of people from Obama's administration and Clinton's administration going straight to Hollywood from working for those administrations and pulling a lot of strings. But they really bought into the future is going to be extremely progressive, and we're going to control every bit of it. And they thought they were going to win pretty easily. And then they started getting clapback. And it's no surprise that we started to see, again, I have to preface this, Hollywood's always been left. Artists have always been left, but I would say the vast majority is center left, up until very recently. So they've always been left. None of them were fans of Bush. I wasn't. None of them are going to throw on MAGA hats anytime soon, but they really went up to 11 in right before Trump's presidency. And then in 2016, everything succumbed to TDS, and it's destroyed every factor. So again, it's hit publishing. So activism, hyperactivism, has invaded publishing. It invaded music. It invaded gaming, TV, film. It got into knitting communities. That's how bad it's going. And it all happened around the same time. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Don't you find that it's a strange coincidence that it all, happened at the same time? In entertainment, the first shot fired that everybody could hear that's been completely not forgotten about, but just obfuscated is Gamergate. You hear Gamergate, that makes the media just lose their fucking mind. Gamergate, a lot of people will say, well, it's about truth in journalism and Zoe Quinn having sex with 5 dudes. No, it was about the customer noticing a lot of Marxism being injected in their hobby. A lot of things that have Marxist foundations injected in their hobby. And it predates that too, but that's when really people started noticing. And then in entertainment, we had Ghostbusters, Last Jedi. Those were the 2 things we're like, wait a minute. You're taking these traditional male things and you're putting all women in it. And then worse yet, it's one thing to make a bad movie. Oh, if the fans don't like it, it's their fault. That was new.
Yeah.
That was really new. Weird. You almost had to put fans through struggle sessions. And then all of a sudden, all the nerd sites I was on, and I would go to CBR, I would go to Screen Rant, I would go, and they were all pretty normal. They changed overnight, either shut down their forums or started banning their forums for anybody who just go, wait, man, that Ghostbuster movie really sucked.
Oh, yeah. No, that was in 2016 that you were talking about what happened in 2016.
Yeah.
That was, it was insane. And, with Gamergate, I even published on my website, we published something about that. The shot heard around the world. That actually went a lot deeper than Anita over there and Zoe Quinn. But it actually it came all the way down to finding ties to Bill Gates and Common Core. Like it was getting into, it was reflecting how deeply they were trying to get control of the American education system and what they were trying to turn people into. Now you want to talk about hyperactivism. I mean, it's one thing when you turn people into, their minds just kind of fracture. And you look at them and you're like, okay, I'm not getting through to them anymore. And they're sad and they're fragile and they're completely, broken. But at the same time, we're getting into a phase where there's a little bit more violence being expressed. And I mean, even when we got into, we were talking about the lockdowns before, the COVID eras, this is one of those questions that I asked about, once the serpent in the culture reveals itself, should they be allowed to dial it back and go back to work and act like nothing happened before? Like with COVID, the doctors and the media, they helped destroy people's lives. But while we were being censored and coerced and put out of business over here, we also were served up this very scary statistical reality that many of our left-leaning friends, when they were being polled, well over 50% of them said that they approved of putting people like me into internment camps. Not too long ago, last month, when Charlie Kirk was murdered, we were all served up. It was crazy. The worst thing about it for us personally, if you were paying attention, was seeing friends, childhood friends, family alike, expressing thoughts that made you think, wow, these people are comfortable. They would be comfortable about, I don't know, they would rationalize something this bad happening to me. Did I have it coming too? Was it my fault that somebody murdered? This goes into everything. If we can't have conversations like this, how the hell are we going to figure out what the hell's underneath the sands of Saudi Arabia and what it means about our origins as human beings? So I often wonder how the hell we're going to dig ourselves out of this one. But I think that we're on the right track just because of what you were saying before. Again, we have decentralizing in media and we have people who are passionate about stories and passionate about the robustness of our culture that are willing to ask questions that maybe somebody in the past was too proud to ask.
Mm-hmm. And it might have to get this got brought up in a couple of conferences I was at. You just got to wait for, I mean, we don't want them to die, but you got to wait for people to age out. And with culturally what you saw with all the celebration, I think everybody in the chat probably has a story of just losing a friend over this, pruning the friend tree. And they might see it the same way too. But yeah, you brought up the great point, and Shoe on Head. Shoe did a great video on this, where she basically, I'm going to sum up what she said badly, is, oh, if you're okay with what they did to Charlie, and you just said it too, then you must be okay if they did it to me. Yeah. And I'm your friend, because we have a lot of the same views. We do. So you must be okay with that. And wow, you're inhuman as hell. And people were so unapologetic about it too. So we're like, the most bothersome thing at that time is you saw a political assassination over speech. And then it was just as bad to see that, oh, we're not going to come together as a nation because that person over there is dancing on a grave. And I don't know how we find understanding with that.
No,
that's pretty impossible. That's a deal breaker on life, on so many things. And instead of taking the black pill, you just go, you know what? You got to do what the activists did. And I think a lot of, and this isn't just a right left issue. This is a moral issue. This is absolutely a moral issue. Somebody died. I don't care if you liked him or not. And if you're dancing on their grave, there's something wrong with you. There's absolutely something wrong with you. And right now we need to focus on the people who aren't broken, quite frankly. And we can't save everybody. And we have to move on and get the next generation. And what the activists have done, they've done it well, is they have thoroughly taken over every institution in America. And we're talking about government jobs, federal jobs, schools, Hollywood, social media, anywhere where there's information, everywhere where there's art, everywhere where there's power. Especially on the lower levels of academia and city councils. And here in Texas, 21 Democrat judges went unopposed in the last election because nobody bothered to go up against them. And they have funding, and they're coordinated, and they have taken years to do this. Like, public school is nothing like when I was in 100 years ago. But we had to pull our kid out, and I was in San Francisco at the time. It was pretty bad. So we had to pull our kid out because I couldn't take it anymore. I'm not going to have my kid poisoned by this shit. But it's going to take time, and the practitioners of common sense, need to do the same thing. We need to take over school boards. We need to take over city councils, county supervisor seats. We need to do this. Scott Pressler was doing his get the vote out thing in Pennsylvania. That is a drop in the bucket. We need to take back our culture. There is no new culture. There is no one we can create. There is no separate America. There is no national divorce. That's not an option, as much as people like to sell it. There is taking it back. And hopefully we do it with the rules and elections we have out there before it gets to anything bad.
Yeah.
That's the only choice we have. And that stared us in the face again. Certainly it happened during COVID, but that stared us in the face again after Charlie Kirk. And I'm sure everybody was like, fuck, I thought we were making some progress.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we're not.
Yeah. Well, I think that unfortunately, and also fortunately, that something like that happens because we are making progress. I mean, you don't need to shut somebody up by all means necessary if it's ineffective. So
true.
I think that it is a reflection of where the current is starting to really start to rush a little bit more. And yeah, you're right on that when it comes to institutions and it's everywhere. I feel like everything from Harry Potter fandoms to Egyptology has been tainted by these different forms of extremism, in just the way there's no flexibility, intellectual flexibility there. And how are you going to, again, investigate mysteries of great antiquity with any kind of success if you don't have that elasticity of mind.
Yeah, how are you going to do it when you're fighting like actual scientists trying to convince the world that like the natives to Ireland and the UK were black? I mean, it's like, where did the white people come from then? Okay, it's like it's so insane.
We congealed.
Yeah, right. The Tolkien Society. J.R.R. Tolkien, famous Catholic, pretty hardcore Catholic guy, spiritual guy. The Tolkien Society, to this very day, is trying to push how they're a man who wrote in his damn book how much he hated allegory, but then we're hearing from Tolkien scholars that, oh yeah, there were Frodo and Sam were queer coded, and there's some trans coding in there. It's like you're full of shit. And thankfully, it was so egregious. Like most Tolkien fans didn't go the way of other fandom, because so much of it was throwing names out, and people just like, what started for me was when I said the doctor from Doctor, I'm like, it's a dude. It's always a dude.
Yeah.
And I was called like sexist and misogynist, and I'm like, whoa, what? That escalated quickly. And that's how they kept a lot of people shut up. They call us, to this very day, I'm called a Nazi and a racist, whatever. But within Tolkien fandom, enough people had their stones, at least to not do what happened with Star Wars and Star Trek, and went, oh no. This is basically it's a mythology for England, made by a Catholic. No, there wasn't anything gay in it. There just wasn't. There's gay in plenty of other stuff. Read Song of Ice and Fire if you want to get some gay, but it's not in Tolkien. And it was nice. That was the first time we saw like a real cultural fight back in entertainment, right? But they tried to keep people shut up because most people don't want to get in an argument. I don't blame you. But when they're throwing like, man, I thought The Last Jedi sucked. No, freaking Nazi. And like, whoa, wait a minute. And now we're used to it and we kind of laugh it off. But to circle it back to Charlie Kirk, all that laughing it off and all of them constantly calling us Nazis, saying, I'm going to go out and punch a Nazi. It led directly to that.
It did. Yes, it did.
Directly to it.
Well, like you said, the one rabbit hole will lead to another, and I hope I can have you back on again. But I have a few bonus questions for you that we should be able to get through quick. Listen to this. Here we go. All right, Gary, Nerdrotic. Here's the first one for you. You're stranded on a desert island. You can only bring one kind of cheese. What do you bring into that island?
Oh, I'm a fan of cheese.
Only one.
Pepper jack.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I thought you were going to go for a sharp cheddar. I don't think you want to bring a soft cheese to a desert island. No Gouda, anything like that. But pepper.
No.
Okay, that's good.
But I like my spicy. I need to have something spicy, and maybe there's no peppers on there, so that's my one option.
All right. Here's your second one. This is another classic. If you were swarmed by an aggressive pack of third graders, how many do you think that you could take before you reach the point of physical exhaustion? They're normal third graders. They're not hyped up on any kind of drugs, or they're not zombies. They're just normal third graders.
They're not like weapons, third graders.
No.
Okay.
No adamantium, nothing.
Is this like I could take them all out? They're third graders.
How many are you thinking though? Are you thinking dozens? Are you thinking, what are you thinking?
Before I get tired?
Yeah,
they'd have to tire me out. I could take out, oh my God, this is the weirdest question. I could take out 50 third graders.
50? All right.
50.
All right. So 50. So he's
I'm mean.
Pepper jack and 50. Here's the last one. On the 30th of September, we just did a little bit of, I did a little bit of reminiscing about AOL core memories, because they just got rid of the classic dial-up feature a few days ago. Do you have any AOL? Yeah, I know. It's gone. It's been 2 days now since it's gone. The world has not been the same. I remember when they first turned over here in New York, the last day that they turned off the television, the radio received television. I remember when we first got the snow signal. That was it. But do you have any AOL core memories? What's the first one that comes to mind, if so?
The first one I want to admit to
Sure.
on this live stream, because everybody's first AOL core memory is like looking up a naked picture of somebody. AOL core memory. Oh, how long do you got? I still have my AOL, my very first AOL email address. So it is what, 30 years old now? 30 years old. First thing I remember looking up on it, because when I went to prison, there was no like internet. Like it was in what, 1991, right? Or in 91 I went in. So there was no real internet. It was a little bit out there, but believe me, I wasn't hearing about it at all. And when I got out, internet's there. And I resisted it. I was one of those people like, I can't deal with that right now. So my core AOL memory is I was already starting to look up, I think it was Star Wars stuff. That was the first thing I was looking up was Star Wars stuff. Just trying to find anything. And I can't remember if I did. I know Wikipedia, I forgot when that started popping up. I remember, this was later on. I remember looking up I saw The Fifth Element and it blew my fucking mind, and the movie didn't do that well. And I was just trying to look up, like, is there anybody else who likes this movie besides me? And it turns out there was a lot of people and there was a website.
See, I got on AOL probably around 95, 96 for the first time. I think I got on when it was AOL 2.5. 2.5 and 3.0 is when I really got into it. But I think my core memories on those now, when I hit them up first, was all those arts and entertainment chat rooms. It's where I was doing RPG in chat rooms, and I was in the Star Wars chat rooms too. You essentially had to narrate through text how you're entering into rooms, how you're interacting with people at a cantina or whatever the hell else. You're in Tatooine, you're in Coruscant, the lower levels of Coruscant, something like that. And it was really incredible stuff. And it's really the only thing I remember about it all, because before that, my first email address was on Juno. And on Juno, every time you wanted to check your email, you had to do the whole dial-up process just to see that. And every time you wanted to send an email, one piece of mail, you had to go through the whole dial-up process. And it was a big, big upgrade when you can go through one dial-up process and send a batch of emails out. That was crazy. And now here we are, and it's just what we can do with our phones is just incredible. But I wanted to ask you that. Those are the 3 bonus questions I had. And unless you have anything else, please, first of all, talk about, again, the event in December. And I can't thank you enough for being on with us.
Oh, no problem. So Quest for Ancient Civilizations is December 5th through 7th in lovely Scottsdale, Arizona. Great time of year to go there, by the way. I love Arizona. It's my second favorite state in the union. And it's good. This one's going to be a little different from your normal conference, because we're going to have speakers, of course, but then I'm going to be doing basically a live stream throughout the whole thing. So I'll be, pulling in people to talk to, and me and Garrett will just be shooting the shit. And I think there's always going to be something going on. And yeah, you get to hang out with me and Garrett if you want. Garrett will be there too.
That sounds fantastic.
Mrs. Nerdrotic.
This is not a tour. This is just this one
thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys, I can't wait until the day that I'm a little bit more mobile. I'd love to bring my whole family out to hang out and watch that and meet all you guys in person. But in the meantime, if there's anything you need from me over here in my home base in New York, I hope you hit me up. And it was great spending some time with you tonight, Gary.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, have a good one and take care.
You too. Take care, everybody.
There you go, Gary, Nerdrotic. It's been a great night. That was one for the books, and I hope we get to speak again. And thanks again to Michael Collins, not only for thinking that this show would be a really good landing spot for some of your wonderful panelists and talent that you've signed, but also thank you for doing this whole thing and for pursuing these types of events. I'm really proud of Michael Collins. He's a good friend, and I'm really happy when I see friends succeed like this. Okay. All right. So it's 8:14. When I come back from this very quick break, just going to play the intermission, Going to take your calls, going to read your super chats. As you all know, if you send a super chat on YouTube, Rumble, quitefranklysuperchat.com, or on the gold pills on quitefrankly.tv, pilled.net, you are in the running for this gigantic cozy basket that is filled with all types of cozy things, man. You got a couple of mugs. You got some Verso Cell Being in there, the Quite Frankly coffee. You have books to read. You have protein chips. There's I don't know. I think there's a robe in there. It's a cozy basket. Plus, you get the basket. I'm telling you, with the keto brains and all the other stuff that I added to this, it's over $200 worth of stuff. So send on over a $5 super chat and let us know what you thought about tonight's show. And let me say something else. We just had Gary from Nerdrotic on the show. Hopefully, it's the beginning of a very nice, long relationship. Use your hype. If you're on YouTube, use your YouTube hype, and please hype this episode up, because I'm going to be away in the Adirondacks over the weekend. It would be wonderful while I'm away. Some people who have never seen the show before or haven't seen the show in a long time can be introduced to such a lovely conversation. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
Welcome to Intermission.
And just like that, Gary's Padres have been eliminated from the playoffs, and now the Yankees begin. They're at the bottom of the first already. Cam Schlittler just breezed through the top of the first. My night is only accelerating as far as the stress goes. I'm trying to keep myself under control, trying to focus this so that I don't pass it along to any of you guys. All right, Running on Empty says blessings for a relaxing time in the mountains. It'll be nice, but we'll be in touch. Don't worry about it. Thank you so much, Running on Empty. That's from YouTube. Quite frankly, superchat.com has a few. Stowstube says another super chat tonight just because we want to. Why the heck not? Sometimes I ask myself, what would Shotzi and Jay Brits do? Super chat it is. Love the Franklies, Franciscans out there. This super chat is brought to you because of Jay Brits and Shotzi. So obviously everybody's egging each other on for some reason, and I'm fine with it. Leaves of Grass says, Frank, I created a thread in the forum section of quitefrankly.tv for Franklies to post their seasonal holiday recipes. I've made 2 posts thus far. I ask others to post their favorite holiday recipe too. Love from Amy in Oregon, Ducks Rocks, Leaves of Grass. Leaves of Grass, let me ask you something. First of all, send me the link to that so I can send it around on the Telegram and everything else. But quitefrankly.tv, let's go to the forum for a second. This is the big one that you guys got to get in on too. We've got 7 responses so far. We're going to need a couple of dozen more because there's going to be several spooky story nights that we have to do. And here's one. Creepy, Spooky, Unexplained Stories, 2025 edition. True Hauntings, if you have any stories about that. Pursued by non-human entities? Do you have a heart-racing encounter working in the graveyard shift or during the graveyard shift that still has never been adequately explained to you? Well, I want you to blow our minds with this one. By all means, get in there and blow our damn minds. It's that time of year again, and we want to hear spooky stories. Things that you just can't explain. So get in there. I'll share that around again. I actually have some stories, spooky stories from the mountains that I'm going to be bringing out on Wednesday the 8th when we come back from our little weekend away. Jay Gulanello will be the guest that night, and we're going to be talking about spooky times from the mountains. So, because I already have a couple of spooky mountain stories, just from the time that I went down to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Plenty to say. Anyhow, let's see what else is in the super chats. King Cracker says that was a great guest. You darn right. I'm glad that you liked it. Joe Martinez, thank you so much. Stove Stoof says, Frank, we meet again. Another great guest, just a super chat for some wonderful independent media as always. And hey, Jay Brits and Shotzi. Hope all are well. Road Trip says they worship Moloch. They are attempting to bring end times. Our knowledge of our true history would prove the Bible correct. They cannot allow this. That's why the whole idea, I've heard that from people before there too. No. For as secular and atheistic and full of hatred and disdain that scientists and archaeology and all that stuff is in modern day, all the disdain that they show toward faith, religion, and all that, even though science and faith used to be complementary, now it's been forced into an adversarial nature. I love when those people who would want nothing more but for religion to be destroyed to say, oh, no, we would cause too much chaos. Too much chaos when people lose their religions. When they find something that contradicts it. So makes you wonder, just like all of their movie reviews, if they're saying that a movie is bad, it's probably good. If they're saying that it is going to contradict and hurt a religion, then what does that mean for real? Is it going to give them a little bit more zeal? All right, let's see. Two Penny Puppet says, holy shit, Gary. Well, I never saw this coming. I hope I can keep you on your toes because we got some great guests coming on still over the next couple of months that I'm putting on the schedule. Great guests. I can't wait to show them off a little bit more, but I would really love for Gary to come back and, oh man, to talk to somebody like AJ at the Y-Files would be fantastic. Okay, let's see here. What else do we have? Jason Daly says, I'm new here. The vibe of these streams relax me. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, everyone. Well, Jason, I'm glad that you're here. I'd love to hear how you found the show. But keep in touch and email anytime, frank@quitefrankly.tv. I love feedback, and I'm so happy you're having a great night. Jay Britt says, you're going to need a lot of ice cream up in the Adirondacks. Plenty of mint chip. Have a great time away. Jay, thank you so much. Thank you. You know what? It's actually funny that you say this because all Anthony and Mike and Sal have been talking about, and Matt when he used to care. All they've been talking about for weeks now is going to Stewart's and just raiding their ice cream. Anthony and Mike keep talking about this ice cream, blueberry pie in the sky that Stewart's makes. And I told them all, guys, we can't come back diabetic. We can't do this. We can't come back with like numb toes, going to have a toe amputated. We can't do this every time we go up there. Can we just come back and not have to detox? And they give me this weird look. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So let's just get a couple of gallons. That's it. Every day we got to go back to Stewart's. We're running out of ice cream. They say this every day, and more ice cream. It's crazy. It's crazy what I have to live around. But it's funny. Makes for good memories. Shotzi says, enjoy the long weekend. Decompress, have fun. All right, well, there you go. John Volts. The number is 914-200-0269. Are you new? Are you old? Call in. What did you think about the things that we talked about with Gary? There's plenty to drop some thoughts on as it comes around to the topics of culture war, contemporary and ancient, how they all mesh together. Let me know where you're at. 914-200-0269. It's 8:24. We got a half hour more together. Here's a call, 817. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. This is Cloud9.
Hello, Cloud9. Go ahead. Give us your best.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks for having on probably, in my opinion, the best guest you've had so far this year. But, you know, it's only because I'm biased. I've actually had the great and distinct honor of getting to meet Gary in person at a fan expo. And we had a long conversation about kind of the history of cinema, the art of storytelling, and then a little bit about his life story. And for anyone who doesn't know about Gary, I think you mentioned a little bit about it tonight, but I would recommend, I think he just now released a book about his life, if I remember that correctly, and you can correct me on that, Frank, but I believe he just released a book about it. I don't remember the title,
was that from prison to YouTube? From prison to YouTube? I forget.
So that's correct. Yeah. So not to talk just about Gary, but I think this just highlights a bigger distinction of where we're going as a culture, because in a lot of ways, what we're seeing today is the hallmarks of what was being built up over the past, I would argue, 30 years, which is a slow and steady introduction into sort of this liberal Marxist anarcho-tyranny social order. And you could look at it at a lot of different angles. Number one, the TV shows that were coming out at the time just kind of gradually opened the door, but they weren't so on the nose. The first mention, I think, of a same-sex relationship was back in the 80s, I believe, with Cheers, but it was taken more as a joke. And then by the time of the late 90s, you had the show Will and Grace, which was just full on, here we go, out and about. So how do we go from, you know, this 1980s style of sitcom humor where we're making fun of something that was so socially taboo to now it's widely accepted in the public domain, even in seeping over into comics and into video games? Well, it started with several writers, several producers, several directors, artists, just subtly introducing new characters. Now, I'm not saying that every single character has to have the exact same motivations, or that there can't be some level of subversiveness, if you will, because sometimes the same formulaic ideas, they run out pretty dry. You know, I'm a big fan of cowboy movies. I like the style. I like the cinematography of a lot of Clint Eastwood, Gary Cooper, and John Wayne movies. But you could definitely tell that they were trying to squeeze as much juice as they could all throughout the 50s, the 60s, and then it kind of fizzled out in the 70s, but then had a little bit of a resurgence in the early 90s with movies like Unforgiven and Tombstone.
Okay.
But go ahead.
No, okay. I'm just taking note.
Yeah. And then you got guys like Razorfist, who you've had on your show, who just released Ghost of the Badlands. And he's trying to make a resurgence of this old style, old school kind of preacher-like stoicism in these characters. All that to say is that in order to take back our culture, if you will, you have to start introducing ideas that took about 30 years for the liberals or the liberal social order to get past all the censors, because it was first introduced as a joke. And you have to do the exact same to where we are today, because the producers at the highest levels in Hollywood are, you know, basically gatekeeping conservative think tanks or voices. Now, of course, we're starting to see a subtle change today. Now, whether it's by force or it's by actual, you know, we want to have more open dialogue about different ideas of where we want to go in the video game industry or the entertainment industry, that's up for debate. Personally, I believe that we're not actually going to see any level of new ideas until we can get writers who actually are just apolitical, or at least understand how to build a story structure. And that's something that me and Gary had discussed, and he was talking about when he was over at several of these fan expos. But yeah, I don't want to go overboard with it, but just to highlight that.
No,
Andrew Breitbart said.
Okay,
What?
go. We'll go finish with the Breitbart quote.
I was going to say, with Andrew Breitbart, he's the one I believe that quoted that culture is downstream from politics, or politics is downstream from culture. So that's essentially what we have to do in order to be good at storytelling. You have to have an interest in it. You have to find things in life that interest you, like Art Bell.
You have to. Well, that's the big reason why that we are we spend a lot more time away from the headlines than other shows. You know, there are things, there are kernels of bigger, greater truths that are buried into the stories that are really taking us around the park every week, and then we're handed off to a new story and all that stuff. And as long as you're trying to find that inner kernel of a larger human story, then that's really what's going on there. It's everybody. That's why some of the best stories out there. And thanks for the call, Cloud9. Some of the more memorable stories out there are the ones that happen with the backdrop of a story that's been told many times before. You know, war, for example, a love story with the backdrop of war, or something else. You know, a coming of age story, kids in a neighborhood or something like that are trying to survive as their city is getting bombed out during World War II or I or something like that. It's those kinds of things that you have to connect with something that's more eternal. When I was doing a lot more creative writing, and I was under the tutelage of my late great friend Pam, she always told me that about, you know, whenever she found something in my writing, she's like, this is too dated. You're making and it's okay to be authentic enough in what, you know, in your prose or however you're writing. It's okay to be authentic to the times and to actually reflect the time in some kind of a way. But it's another way to just be totally swept up in a very temporary way of thinking, or some kind of a political trend that's going on. And there's plenty of trends that have happened over the last 5 years alone. But you got to find something that is going to transcend all of that. That's where real stories, real classics are. That's why, you know, what do we know? What is the most that we have? What kind of new classics? Are there any new real classics? Very few. I feel like between the 80s and the 90s alone, in the early 2000s, like classic films were being made. Summer blockbusters in the 90s, the summertime in the 90s, you knew that you were going to be served up something that was going to be considered legendary a couple of years down the line. But, you know, the last 20 years, what have we really been seeing? Last 15 years or so, it's just been the age of reboots. And, of course, the age of swapping out characters, swapping out identities of characters, and trying to politically co-opt stories that became beloved for reasons that were bigger than politics. You know, that's why the shelf life is so. There is no shelf life, and whatever they do to try to kind of latch onto something, thinking that it was Superman's costume. Superman's costume is what made him memorable. You know, it wasn't the virtues. It wasn't the virtue of Superman or anything else like that, or a reflection of the time, the just anything. But it is that's what we need to get back to. If we get back to things that are a little bit more human, in the way that humanity has not really changed, other than the style of clothes we wear. We're motivated by the same things. Men are motivated largely to go out there and to tame the wilderness because of the women they love and the children they want to raise. Everybody is, you know, there's just there's jealousy, there's triumph, there's love, there's jelly, whatever. There's jelly, there's peanut butter. There's all these things that have always been there since the beginning of time. But you know, boys cutting off their nuts to try to affirm a gender that otherwise they say is not a reflection of the gender itself. They say, well, your parts and the sum total of your parts does not show who you are as a gender or a sex. So then why do you need to cut parts off to affirm it? Stupid shit like that. Like this is circular, dead end thinking that is going to be looked back on in very short order as holy shit, that was real. That wasn't a fever dream. So, the real question is, how much is everybody out there in the audience and all the audiences who are going to see this in the years to come, how willing are you to stand behind new media? Because when I hear from people like our friend Carlos out there, about how Hollywood executives they want to change, they feel like something's going, they want to change, but they're being held to this really suicidal standard. And who knows how pure their motivations are? Maybe they've hated, maybe they got dragged the whole time, one way or another. Who knows if there's actually anything that could rehabilitate that disgusting town out there, Hollywood. It's actually a very beautiful, physically beautiful place, but of course it just carries a certain aura nowadays. But other than that, where are we going to be putting our time and our money behind people who are making things like, Razor Fist? He and George Alexopoulos, they crowdfunded that Badlands graphic novel. That was all crowdfunded. I know that Eric July, he crowdfunded a lot of the new comic books that they put out. I'm always trying to find new ways of creating value added for people to voluntarily crowdfund this show. Because whereas they do writing in various forms and illustrations, somebody else wants to put together a movie. I'm trying to create and be a part of a new generation of talk radio. What was talk radio of the 90s and early 2000s. That's where I want to be. And that's just really what it's all about. You got to put the money and the time and the support into things that we used to take for granted. Hollywood was always going to put out, awesome movies that were patriotic and were fun. And we kind of admired the people in the movies. And now, admiration for movie stars is at an all-time low. The originality of the movies themselves is at an all-time low. There's the crowd, the consumer base has never been more polarized. It's just one of those things where who cares if that's where they want to spend their hundreds of millions and billions. It does not take much to create really, really great organic movements. This show doesn't have a lot of overhead compared to a whatchamacallit, a sinking network television station that's losing hundreds of millions of dollars for shows that nobody's watching, but they're subsidized by the CIA in one roundabout way or another. But it's still a lot of overhead for somebody like me. That could be overcome very easily. Anybody out there who's writing scripts, there is more technology available now than ever before to bring an idea to a viewing audience and to create a foothold out there. You know what? Gary from Nerdrotic, he represents a whole brand unto itself. You think about what Michael Collins is doing. I mean, you want to talk about how the culture comes back? Look at this. I mean, the fact that Michael Collins is getting all these people together, he put it together himself. They're all getting together in Scottsdale, Arizona in December for a couple of days. That's going to be wonderful. Everybody at Badlands with the GART event. Here, this is going on. Badlands, the Great American Restoration Tour, is going to Cocoa Beach in Florida. I wish I could go from November 6th to 9th, but, I have a lot of responsibilities back home. I can't leave yet. Like I said, travel goals is part of my funding goals. But, I mean, this is going on all over the place. There's never been more reason to be hopeful, okay? And as much as the violence scares you, as much as the bloodshed scares you, the death, all the morbid things, the heartbreaking things that come along with it, it's a reaction to something that it shows you that it's not all in hand anymore for the former orthodoxy. So let's take a couple more calls. It's 8:39. Here we go. 216, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Orthodoxy.
Hello?
So Frank.
Who is this?
How you doing, buddy?
Hello.
This is John in Cleveland. Sorry.
Hello, Johnny. How are
Frank,
you?
I have an interesting little tidbit for you.
Okay.
Okay. That I can't believe no one else has caught. So Brian De Palma, the director of Snake Eyes and other movies that were pretty good, his brother is Bruce De Palma. Bruce De Palma is the free energy guy that lived next to Ronald Reagan's ranch with the Sunshine Group. Basically, they started organic foods out in California, and they had the ranch right next to Reagan. Okay, they brought all these people over to this ranch because they were working on a free energy device, and it goes right along with what you were talking about with your guest tonight, because you guys are talking about academia and stuff, and this is what De Palma wrote to Princeton. Okay, this is back in early 80s, I believe. So it says, I lost my interest, De Palma wrote, in the viability of the institution of the so-called science you uphold when it became clear you and the rest of you are incompetent and incapable of receiving new information. I think it is clear that the energy crisis and other economic and political woes of this country and the world at this time is due to the activities of professors like you and Dr. Dick, Dr. Wheeler, and your ilk.
This is a real letter?
Yes,
wow.
Yes, you can search it. If you look up Bruce De Palma, Brian De Palma's older brother, and it becomes clear when you really start to dig into it. If you look at the dark journalist who's friends with Gigi, who you talked about, Gigi Young, with that article
about martyrdom.
Yes.
She's Gigi Young is going to be on the show, by the way. Actually, I think she's going to be on the show on November 6th. So,
Frank, that is a perfect fit. She is great. Go back and look at some of her stuff. It's very, very good, along with the dark journalist as well. That I don't hear information that I hear on his show anywhere else. Kind of like Oswald had the highest clearance at Area 51.
Oh, stuff like that. Okay. I love listening. I don't care where the hell it leads and how many people dispute it. I just love listening to shit like that.
Oh, the Brian De Palma stuff, that's where I heard about Bruce De Palma and it's very odd, the timing of it too, Frank, because you have the Charlie Kirk shooting, which is like the Snake Eyes movie, which is directed by Brian De Palma. And about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, Dark Journalist had a whole thing talking about how, all these crazy things going on next to Reagan's ranch involving Bruce De Palma and all these other people, that they were working on free energy device and the Melchizedek device, which supposedly brought down, the Melchizedek device was what brings down UFOs.
I get you. Yeah. Those scalar weapons. Well, anything you got for me, feel free to send them. And thank you for the call, sir. It's great to hear from you. Feel free to send them to Frank at quitefrankly.tv, especially if it's in the lead up to a great guest like Gigi Young. That'll be a night of mysticism and, the mechanics of the world beyond and all that. I love hearing this stuff. I want to live in this cozy, spooky zone well beyond September and October. I know it's a little bit harder to do that in June when it's broad daylight outside, but it's not going to be broad daylight outside for like 6 months now. We're going to be in here cozy, snug as a bug in a rug. Okay? That's what we got. This is our life. All right. Let's see here. My mother just sent me a super chat. Here's some gas money. Mom, I'm not taking that from you. Now I'm going to have to buy you dinner. What the hell do you think this is? You can't send me super chats. What do you think this is? I'm not taking super chats for my mom. Now I'm going to have to buy my mother dinner. Anyway, thank you so much, Mom. Thank you. I love you. John Volts says, shout out to Pete Hegseth for getting rid of beardos and fixing the military PT and grooming standards. Yeah, at least for 3.5 years. Zencat says, I love seeing Gary on here. I hope you do this again soon. 2 of my favorite YouTube guys and subjects. I'm so glad you liked it, Zen. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad. Everybody in the chat room, listen to your mother, Frank. Nikki just said Frank's going to have to super chat into his mom's show. Can you imagine that? If everybody in the house start having a show? Ugh. You're like, oh no. Got to hang out with broadcasters all day long now. Don't let Frank run with scissors, says Cia. Now, I'm just reading the general chat now. Good God. Good God. All right, over on whatchamacallit, on Rumble. Then we have to take a really quick break. Hold on, where the hell are we? All right, the first one up is Jay Semo. Excellent show. You and Gary were great. Keep shining the light of truth on our world. Then we have Miss Day Dawn. Says, hey, Frank, count me into the drawing, and have a badass weekend. Thank you. Grayson Pro says, you heard about the psychic midget who escaped from the loony bin? They say there's a small medium at large. Yes, there's a small medium at large. My gosh. Tommy Jekyll, on a lighter note that might not stay lighter, I hope you didn't move the executive producer's ice cream tribute money to your ice cream money. No, I don't have any ice cream money. There's no ice cream money is mine. What the hell's the score? It's still 0-0 at the end of the second inning. Everybody, for extra innings, you know what's going to happen, right? Miss Day Dawn says, heck yeah, this one is in excitement for coming guest, Gigi Young Epic. Yes, I'm happy you guys are excited about that. I am too. All right, over on quitefrankly.tv. We'll do that right on the other side of this quick break. Don't go anywhere. This will be funny.
Cute little dog you've got there. But hold on. In a previous life, he could have been George Washington. Nice cat. Perhaps Annie Oakley. And look at him. Why, it's Napoleon. Reincarnation. What human being was your pet in a previous lifetime? Master reincarnationist E. David Scott will tell you when you call this number. Just answer simple questions with your touch-tone phone. $1.95 per minute for entertainment only. Under 18, get permission. Call now. Learn who your pet was as a human in a previous lifetime.
What is the Sovereign Alliance? The Sovereign Alliance are a collection of leaders and countries that are aligned not in the vision for their countries, but against a vision that has been thrust upon them. I believe that the Sovereign Alliance is less a battle for something and more a battle against something. They are against globalism, collectivism. They are against the rules-based international order.
Sovereign Alliance, the latest addition to Badlands Rise merch, available now at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
Any questions? All righty. 8:49 here. We got about 11 minutes left, and I'm going to leave the lines open. You know what? I'm going to keep the games we play topic to Wednesday. I think that Jay will actually have fun with that topic. It's chill. It'll be the first night back from a long weekend, and I think you guys are going to love it. I really think so, because I think there's a lot of funny things that we all do, and that's what I'm talking about. I want to pull the weirdness out of all of you guys, and let's talk about what makes us human. That's what makes us human. Human beings don't change sex. What are we, West African bullfrogs? That doesn't happen. East Indian bullfrogs. I don't know where the hell what are the ones. Anyway, Texas Hop says, thanks for the Keto Brain samples. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not kidding about this. If you want to try Keto Brains, no dairy, no sugar. If you want to try it, get in touch with me. Contact Frank at quitefrankly.tv, and I'm going to buy you 3 sample packs, and you'll see. I'm telling you, the reason why I have spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars sending this out to people all over the world is because I know you're going to like it. Because it's good for your brain. It's good for focus. It doesn't give you the jitters. It's just a really great supplement. There's so many good things in there, from the lion's mane to the L-theanine. You are just ready to do what you got to do. Working out. Doesn't matter. And remember, for the weekend, use promo code TREAT, like trick or treat, treat, on ketobrains.com and on mindthymitochondria.com. Both links are in the description of this episode. If you buy anything over $39 worth of stuff, you're in the running for a year-long subscription to one person each product. 2 people are going to get nearly $1,000 worth of product, essentially. And you'll be set all throughout 2026. I mean, that's worth it. And we're going to be running that all throughout this month, and we'll announce it sometime around Halloween. So there we go. Let's see here. Cave Toad says, I may have to adopt the name Problematic Toad. Oh, man, you're going to get Will very upset. If all the problematics start popping up, Stucky. What's going on, Stuck in NY? It's good to see Stuck in there. Thank you for the pills. Cave Toad again says, he said, quite frankly, around 1 hour, 2 minutes. Maybe you need to make a bit like the Blurry guys do for asking about Bigfoot, but make sure the guests say quite frankly. I guess I can ask them that, sure. By the way, do we get an update on the Quite Frankly case yet, the trademark case? You know what? I really don't think that the idiot, the absolute moron, that tried to muscle me out of using Quite Frankly after I've been using it commercially since 2016 and consistently in a marketing way, in a multimedia sense for even 6 years prior to that. I really do think that he was told by responsible counsel, okay, you got yourself your cute little trademark, but you're not going to win this one, so just stop talking to him. I wonder what it is. I was told by my lawyer, Ron Coleman, that I won and that you can talk about it if you want. Go right ahead. They have no standing or anything like that. And I will talk about it. Maybe I'll talk about that with Jay, because Jay was one of the first people I read it to. I said, you want to see some shit? It's back in March of this year. This year has been crazy, man. Crazy. So I'll be able to talk about it soon. But it's just that I don't want to make it got to find a nice night where it's just chill and we can just have some fun with it. There's always something more important coming up. So let's see here. Thank you. Cave Toad gifted a 1-month bronze subscription. This is what I'm saying. Hanging out on Pilled, people gift subscriptions to the show. You can just grab them in the chat room, and all of a sudden you're a sponsor of this. You get to see all the exclusive members-only stuff that I do for sponsors, and you can just try it out just by grabbing free subscriptions that generous people throw out there and Pilled. But we'll be live on Extra Innings in just a second. Let's take a couple of calls. We have 6 minutes left. Let's see if we can get 2 calls in. 914-200-0269. Come bring it. Bring it, my friends. Bring it. And I did the 2 voicemails. That's all I have for you over there. Let's see. Curious Patriot says, another great guest, Frank. I'm going to have to check out Gary's show now. Thank you. Give me that basket. Don't worry. I'm going to make sure you guys are all in a nice list before I leave for the weekend, and that'll be done tonight. 952, you're on the air. Go right ahead.
Hey, Frank, it's Cave Toad.
Cave Toad, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. I wish blessings to you and the family and safe travels for heading up to the mountains this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll leave a trail of breadcrumbs.
Well, be careful. Sometimes the animals behind you eat those.
Yeah.
A quick question, though. I mean, you're getting some great guests these days and new and different ones. But you've also been guests on other shows. And part of the reason why, I found you through Matt and Blonde, but you were on John B. Wells and Caravan to Midnight.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Did you contact them or did they contact your people? I mean, that's an over-the-air, across-the-nation radio show. How did that happen?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember if I was introduced or if they reached out. I really don't remember how that all happened. But every once in a while I get in touch with John B. Wells through his Twitter, and I ask him, hey, would you like to come on the show sometime? And he does
shows every night.
Yeah.
Pretty much, except for Sundays. But like Jim Lee's been on there too, and if you look back at that was a long time ago. And John's had other people on too and stuff like that. I'd love to see Jim Lee back on that just because the over-the-air factor. But again, I think you'd be a good guest too.
Yeah, well, I remember that night I had to go down into the basement because it was 2021 and Aurora was still, she was a very light sleeper. And of course, it's John B. Wells' show. So I did the show over here, 9:00. I went home. I got myself, I don't know what the hell I was doing at home, but I just had to wait until I can call in for my spot. I think it was at like 10:00 or something like that on the East, 10:30, something like that. But I had to go, I couldn't talk in the kitchen. I couldn't talk in the backyard. Yeah. So I had to go into the basement to try to find myself a quiet corner in there, but it was bad reception. So I started I remember I had a lot of technical difficulties that night calling into John's show, but it was great, and I hope I can do that a little bit more. I don't get many invites, but I always am happy when I do, and I make the best out of it. So that was fun, and I'd love to have John B. Wells on this show one day too. He's a legendary voice out there, and between him during the weekdays, and thanks for the call, Cave Toad. During weeknights, if I'm home and I'm just doing one thing or another, I don't want to listen to music and I just want some, familiar voices on, I'll either go to Caravan to Midnight because it's live most nights of the week, and Ground Zero. And those are syndicated on radio. I still would love to be able to get a situation going where I'm on shortwave one day. I would love that. If I can at least just do shortwave, then that would give everybody an opportunity to be able to listen to me no matter where the hell it is. And I don't have to deal with FCC in the way that you do on AM or FM or something like that. Then that would still be cozy. That would still be old school. Radio is miraculous technology. It's never going to go obsolete. To be able to transmit the human voice for thousands of miles is a miraculous advantage, crazy thing that you can do. And the fact that it's considered primitive technology and it's still so miraculous, I'd love to be able to tap into that one day. Tap that. All right. Well, that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and that's it for this week. So when we come back next week, I'll be live on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday night will be Anthony and I's new show. I'll let you guys know what channel that's going to be on. It's going to be on YouTube. We'll have everything set up by then. We have a great guest. Our friend Walt is going to be coming in for that first night. And then next Saturday, we're going to have a Saturday night special, the first one in October with my cousins Sherry and Dave, and it'll be fun. So next week, we're still going to get 4 broadcasts in, even though we're starting the week on Wednesday. And I like the way that is. Tomorrow night, though, ladies and gentlemen, I may not be live here at 7 o'clock, but at 7 o'clock on Rumble and on X, on Twitter, X, however you call it, the Zadals in New York special that we did 2 weeks ago that I've been saving for this night is going to be live tomorrow. So tomorrow night, Rumble and on Twitter, X, at 7 o'clock, we are going to be premiering the Saturday night special from 2 weeks ago with me, Anthony, and Mike. So it's going to say it's a rebroadcast and all that stuff. You'll have fun. There'll be something there. And I can't put it up on Twitter because on YouTube because I think there's just too much copyrighted stuff on there. And Anthony made a makes a great comparison to Something About Mary and the shooter, the Tyler Robinson transcripts that the FBI gave us. There's some good stuff in that episode, a really chill night, and I hope you enjoy it. So tomorrow night, 7:00, just go to Rumble or to Twitter, and we'll be all set. And I'll see you guys over the course of the weekend. Keep your notifications on. There will be coffee streams galore. Take care. Thank you again to everybody over there on Badlands, and I will see you guys later on. Before I did something wrong. Hold on. Yep. Oh, no. 2 nights in a row, I thought I was going to screw up the outro, but I actually... Damn it. Now I screwed up the outro.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you to all of our wonderful super chatters. My mother, John Volts, Zencat, King Kraka, Ronan Doshos has another epic interview with regard to Wait a second, what is this? With regard to archaeological sites in Mexico, I've been to a few. In those places, the completed restoration work is marked with small red dot. Signs are posted letting the public know. Okay, I'm sorry, Ronan, I didn't see that. Okay, I'm going to put a pilled link into the description right now. Come and join us for after hours, for the extra innings, for only about a half hour more until the lights go out or until I run out of here screaming with a pig under my arm. So don't go anybody, but over to Pilled. Be right back.